Imagine what will happen after you're gone. A few hours after your funeral, the weeping of your loved ones will subside. Your family will start preparing food and drinks, while others will discuss life as if nothing had happened. In a few days, your children will return to work. Your employer will look for a replacement. Even your wife, a few days later, will watch a comedy and laugh. You will be forgotten with incredible speed. This is the reality. Others continue their lives, regardless of your departure. This raises an important question. Why constantly live for the approval of others when all of this is fleeting? Why let yourself be overwhelmed by their emotions and expectations? Stoicism teaches you to detach from all that, to live for yourself, and to find your inner peace. Life is too short to depend on others for your happiness. What matters is your serenity, your well-being, and your ability to choose how to react to events, not what others think of you. That's why it's crucial to learn to detach emotionally from external influences. Through the following 10 lessons, you will discover how to cultivate emotional independence, how to strengthen your autonomy, and why, ultimately, it is essential to learn to live for yourself and not for others. These Stoic principles will guide you towards a more serene existence, more aligned with your true nature. Lesson 1. Accept the ephemeral nature of relationships. You have undoubtedly experienced relationships that, at some point, ended abruptly, without warning. Perhaps a friendship slowly dissipated, or a romantic relationship ended without explanation. This impermanence is difficult to accept because you become deeply attached to those you love. But the Stoic truth is that nothing is eternal, not even human relationships. Think of the example of a romantic relationship where you invest yourself deeply, but over time, differences in values, priorities, or even circumstances lead to a breakup. If you cling to the idea that the relationship should have lasted forever, you will suffer endlessly. Instead, Stoicism teaches you to understand that the bonds between human beings have a natural cycle. Accepting this reality will help you not to be devastated by the end of a relationship, but rather to learn from it and move on. Marcus Aurelius said, "Nature has given us temporary relationships. Why should we impose an eternal character on them?" Accepting that everything in life, including relationships, is temporary, allows you to live them fully while remaining detached from the anxiety of loss. Lesson 2. Live for yourself and not for others. The pressure to live up to the expectations of others can be overwhelming. You have surely had times when you made decisions or acted to please those around you, whether it was your family, your friends, or even your partner. This constant quest for external validation prevents you from living authentically. But one of the keys to Stoicism is to understand that your happiness and inner peace should not depend on others. Imagine a young man who dreams of becoming a writer, but who, under pressure from his parents, chooses a career in business. Every day, he feels an inner emptiness because he does not live according to his own desires and passions. His happiness is constantly compromised by the fear of disappointing others. Stoicism pushes you to free yourself from this burden. "Don't waste time worrying about what others think of you," said Marcus Aurelius. True freedom comes from inner independence, from a deep commitment to yourself and your true aspirations. Accept to live for yourself, to follow your own path without constantly seeking external approval. Lesson 3. Redefine love as an act of freedom. Love, according to Stoic principles, should never be a burden or a form of possession. Too often, we love others with a secret need, a desire for control or validation. But true love is not about possessing the other, but about offering them your presence, your support, and your affection without expectations. If you start to see love as an act of freedom, you can detach yourself from expectations and live a healthier and more fulfilling relationship. Take the example of a man who, for fear of losing his partner, becomes excessively jealous and possessive. He suffocates love by constantly seeking to control her every action. But true love is not born of control, it is born of freedom. It is important to understand that if you seek to possess the other, you create a mutual dependency that feeds fear, suffering, and anxiety. Seneca said, "Love as if you were ready to lose. because it is in absence that you will fully realize the extent of love. By adopting this approach, you free not only the other, but also yourself. Lesson 4. Appreciate solitude as a sacred space. In a world where social interactions and distractions are omnipresent, it becomes easy to neglect the value of solitude. Solitude is not an emptiness to be filled, but a necessary space for personal growth. When you are constantly surrounded by others, you lose your own center, and your happiness becomes dependent on others. By taking time alone, you reconnect with yourself, your deep thoughts, and your own essence. Imagine a person who goes from party to party, from dinner to dinner, and who every night feels empty and exhausted. She drowns herself in social interactions to avoid facing her own thoughts and emotions. Stoicism invites you to reverse this dynamic. Solitude then becomes a time for reflection, rejuvenation, and clarity. Solitude is the refuge of the strong mind, wrote Seneca. This does not mean avoiding others, but choosing to spend time alone to strengthen yourself and find answers to your own questions. Lesson 5. Understand the difference between empathy and emotional fusion. It is easy to get lost in the emotions of others, especially when you surround yourself with people who are going through hardships. You can have great empathy, a sincere desire to help, but you must know when to detach emotionally so as not to absorb the other person's pain. This does not mean that you are insensitive, but that you are preserving your own emotional stability while providing support. An example would be that of a friend who is going through a difficult time. You want to help him, support him, but by getting emotionally involved, you find yourself sharing his burden, and you begin to feel the same stress and pain. Stoicism teaches you to remain a strong presence, but not to let yourself be overwhelmed by the emotions of others. It is possible to support without merging. Be there for others, but always keep your balance, said Marcus Aurelius. Lesson 6. Accept human imperfections. Relationships with others are difficult because we all have flaws. We sometimes act on impulse, anger, or selfishness. You often expect others to act according to your own standards, but this is unrealistic. Each individual has their own struggles, their own imperfections. It is crucial to understand that imperfection is part of human nature, and it is what makes each relationship interesting and full of challenges. Imagine that you work with a person who tends to forget important details in a project. You might feel frustrated, thinking that they are not doing their job properly. However, instead of judging them harshly, you could remember that everyone has their weaknesses, including yourself. Stoicism encourages you to accept these imperfections, both in yourself and in others, and to see them as opportunities to learn and grow together. Seneca said, "We are all imperfect. Why expect perfection from others?" Lesson 7. Free yourself from regrets and grudges. Regrets and grudges prevent you from living in the present. If you keep dwelling on an old wound, you prevent yourself from healing. Stoicism reminds you that you have no power over the past, and that dwelling on yesterday's mistakes is useless. What matters is what you choose to do today. Imagine a person who holds a grudge against a colleague who publicly criticized her years ago. She nourishes this grudge every day, and it impacts her peace of mind. Stoicism encourages you to free yourself from these emotional burdens in order to move forward. The soul that forgives is stronger than the one that clings to the past, said Marcus Aurelius. Forgiveness does not mean forgetting, but choosing to no longer let the pain influence your present. Lesson 8. Develop a spirit of emotional independence. True emotional detachment translates into independence. This means that your happiness, your inner peace, and your serenity should never depend on the actions or emotions of others. If you constantly wait for others to reassure you or make you happy, you lose your personal power. True freedom is internal, and you must cultivate it proactively. If you constantly find yourself seeking the approval of your colleagues or friends, you can start to ask yourself, why do I need their validation? You can start to focus on what you can control and accept that external validation is superficial. Stoicism encourages you to strengthen your emotional autonomy and never be a prisoner of the emotions of others. Lesson 9. The importance of inner discipline. Inner discipline is the key to not getting carried away by the emotional waves of others. This means being able to return to your reason and your principles, no matter what the external situation. When someone criticizes you, judges you, or disappoints you, it is crucial to maintain a stoic posture and not respond impulsively. Imagine yourself in a meeting where a colleague attacks your idea without foundation. It would be easy to get carried away by anger, to respond in an aggressive tone, or to allow yourself to be humiliated. But instead, Stoicism teaches you to keep your calm and respond with wisdom. This does not mean that you have to accept insults, but that you consciously choose not to be a slave to your emotions. You are master of your reactions, not the actions of others. Lesson 10. Cultivate gratitude and acceptance. Finally, Stoicism invites you to cultivate gratitude for everything that life brings you, whether it be moments of joy or suffering. By cultivating gratitude, you detach yourself from the expectations you have of others. You understand that everything that happens in your life is an opportunity to learn and grow. Think of those times when you felt disappointed by someone, but in the end, that disappointment taught you something valuable about yourself or human nature. Accept the ups and downs with gratitude, and you will see that even difficult times have their reason for being in your journey. Marcus Aurelius said, "It is not what happens to you, but how you choose to react to it that matters." In the end, true freedom lies in your ability to detach yourself from the emotions and expectations of others. Stoicism teaches us that inner peace is never dependent on the outside, but that it arises from our ability to control our thoughts, our reactions, and our choices. By understanding that others, however close they may be, will continue on their way once you are gone, you become aware of the ephemeral nature of everything that binds you to them. You are not here to satisfy the expectations of the world, but to live your life in accordance with your principles. Learning to live for yourself, to flourish without seeking external validation, will allow you to free your mind from the invisible chains that hold you back. Because deep down, life is far too short to be lived according to the rules and judgments of others. So, make the choice today to cultivate your inner peace, to become master of your emotions, and to flourish by being true to yourself. Emotional detachment is not a rejection of others, but an invitation to refocus, strengthen yourself, and offer yourself the freedom to live fully, without compromise. Thus, you can, right now, begin to apply these lessons in your life. By detaching yourself from what does not depend on you, you will become not only stronger, but also more serene, ready to face each moment with a clarity and tranquility that few people know. Life is yours. Live it fully, without the emotional burdens that have no place in your journey.